Okay, so here's my video response to Zak George's video response to my video, which was a response to a question that was posted on Zak's page, which I actually answered. He said, no, I remember it said, no judgment. Do you feel the use of such things as e-collars and prong collars is important? And I answered it honestly because of being a trainer. I thought that would be a great dialogue to start. I wanted to sit down chat because I thought that would be a really good way to discuss things. And I had no ill intentions, obviously. I just wanted to chat with Zak, and I sent him a really nice message. So Zak, I have no problems with you at all. On a personal level, I will tell you where my conflicts are, and I'll get into all that. But I wanted to chat. Now you want to vlog war, but I guess I'm not taking it as a real war. I'm taking it that that's a term that maybe I don't understand. So I'll do my best to do this. I don't think this discussion should have a winner or a loser. What I'd really like to do is see the dog training community come together. So first of all, what I want to touch on is this idea of the e-collar, the prong collar, the slip lead or anything like that being solely an aversive tool. I don't see it as that. I see it can be used as such, but I see that anything, including your hand, voice, body pressure, anything can be used as an aversive. The tools can be used in other ways. It can be used just like a harness or a martingale collar. It can be used to communicate with the dog in a way that, again, when used properly, can be highly effective and highly humane and fair to the dog. As I think you and I would both agree, Zak, there is a time where anything can be used abusively. And I will start out this entire conversation by saying that anyone who uses a tool aversively, whether it is an e-collar, a prong collar, a harness, a slip lead, their hands, their voice, something to whack a dog, anything that is used inhumanely, I'm against. 100% I'm against it. Now you're citing veterinary behaviorists are the go-to professionals when it comes to dog training, but they're not. Now veterinary behaviorists should be consulted in a situation where a dog needs medical veterinary care. It was my veterinarian who convinced me to become a dog trainer because I was helping more dogs through rescue than she had seen. So she encouraged me into this field. And she's a very, very good veterinarian, very, very well known, Dr. Lisa. Many of my clients have been veterinarians, and many, many of my clients have been referred by veterinarians. One point you brought up in your video was that when a person decides to use a specific tool to train their dog, that is their right. But as a trainer, when I tell people how to use a tool or tell them to use a tool such as an e-collar, which again, I don't want to use the term aversive, I want to use the term a tool, because a harness, anything else can be aversive as well. Like I say, your body pressure, your hands, or anything like that. In my position, with my experience, I will show a client the best way that I see to resolve the problem. Now, if you look at my videos online or you look at anything I've done in shelter work, I came to great conclusions, great results with dogs through a very fair method of training. Now, everything I do with a dog, I'm going to repeat that, everything I do with a dog starts with a treat and a toy. I believe in starting everything with positive interaction, luring and shaping, rewards. It's my responsibility as a trainer to give the client every avenue. One of your comments was, how can I put myself above doctors who go to school to learn brain science? And I'm in no way doing that. What I'm doing is I'm helping dogs understand training. In other words, a skill set. Let me give you an example. If I look at all the top trained dogs in the world, whether they're military dogs, performance dogs, police dogs, sport dogs, obedience dogs, anything. None of those dogs were trained by a veterinary behaviorist. They were trained by a dog trainer. So when we want a dog to do things, we don't necessarily need to consult a veterinary behaviorist. We need to consult a dog trainer who is skilled in those behaviors. A veterinary behaviorist probably would be way outside of their comfort zone in trying to teach a dog a competitive obedience routine. So I want to reiterate that a veterinary behaviorist has an extremely high skill set in dealing with veterinary medicine, but they're not skilled in basic dog training or problem solving. You also cited a study about grizzly bears where they were taught through positive association to get injections or draw blood. I looked up the study online, and I think that's a great thing. But again, we're talking about 4 captive grizzly bears. One thing I was really against was any animal experimenting. I don't like animal experimenting. So whenever I hear studies that use dogs in this way of, checking their cortisol levels by stimming them, using shock collars on them, and then checking their levels, we already know that a negative association with any tool, irrespective of what that tool is cruel and inhumane to do to a dog. We also already know that when a dog is exposed to stress, he will stress out. His cortisol levels will come up. I believe cruelty is cruelty. I don't need a science experiment to tell me something is cruel. On your comment where you said you're not making the claim that aversives are necessary, on the other side, I've never seen you show clearly how solely rewards can work in a difficult behavior situation. For example, a dog pulling to the street. If merely the reward would work, then you wouldn't need a harness and a leash on a dog. There's an aversive, whether a dog is pulling on that harness hard and you're standing behind the dog trying to keep the dog from pulling into the street, or you're using an e-collar. They're both aversives. It's just the choice of the tool that we're talking about. So I'm not criticizing your way of training, and that's why I really appreciate when people don't criticize another way of training, as long as the training is not cruel to the dog and solves the problem in an effective manner. Okay, so here's the question you posed to me. You said, give me an example of a situation where you think using a physical aversion, prong, choke, or e-collar, is required where it cannot be done with positive reinforcement. And the example I'd like to cite is the first one, or a very easy one, is a dog who chases cars. You had a video on it, and you showed the use of a harness and a leash. Now, a harness and a leash is still an aversive per se because it's preventing the dog from being able to do what the dog wants to do, which is chase that car. Now, you're taking a very strong step and preventing the dog from pulling to the street, and you're using a harness to keep the dog back. I would probably use a line as well, a long line and a collar, and perhaps an e-collar or prong collar. I would want to make that potential danger uncomfortable for the dog, but less uncomfortable than being hit by the car. Now, I would strive to solve that in the most efficient, quick manner possible. Some people will do things like back the dog up and take several weeks or more to train that behavior. They'll start at a great distance. They'll start rewarding. I cannot risk in good conscience that I work today on starting to build a little bit of relationship, but I didn't solve the problem. And perhaps the next day, that dog gets out of the house and runs and chases a car and gets killed. I would try to solve that problem as quickly as possible. I would use an aversive, what you call an aversive, to refocus the dog back to me, back to my position, and by using an e-collar or a prong collar. I would make the experience of chasing that car slightly less negative, and hopefully quite a bit less negative than catching up to that car and getting hit by a car. And I would do that through training, through positive association to me, and then exposing the dog to the stimulus. Remember, when you cannot control the stimulus, the positive reinforcement won't work. Positive reinforcement is a great methodology of training. I have no problem with it. I use it in 90+% of all my dog training. But when I can't control the stimulus, whether that's a dog running by a dog, running up to a dog that might have aggression, or a dog chasing squirrels, a dog chasing cars, as the topic I'm on, I would use the aversive. So that's hopefully the answer to your first question. Now, I know your stipulation was except for emergencies, but the issue is when I'm training a dog for something potentially dangerous as chasing cars, I can use positive association, and if that does not work, if the positive association does not work, I need to take it to the next level. I need to be able to teach the dog the value in listening to me and the consequence of not listening to me. Because the consequence of this dog not listening to me in an uncontrolled manner will mean that dog's death. Now, in training, that situation is controlled by the use of a line, but the quicker the dog learns the lesson, the more effective the lesson is and the safer the dog can be. Question number 2, I am giving advice that is inconsistent with AVSEB. Should the public believe them or me in the use of tools? In AVSEB's statement that the use of corrections was okay in extreme cases, but now they feel it's not okay. And Zach, you asked me if I'm okay going against that, and I actually am okay with that because I don't base my training on a current study. I'm really, in a way, against animal studies or animal testing. I don't like it at all. I don't like the idea of putting an animal, in particular, in these cases, a dog, in a situation and using an e-collar improperly to raise the cortisol levels to show that the dog is stressed, which happens in many of these studies. I follow the most fair way to teach a dog a particular skill that I want to do. Now, in this conversation, I want to really stress that you cited many studies that showed your side of the equation. I've seen videos showing other studies that support my side of the equation. Now, again, in science, that is the way science works. Science is constantly debating itself to try to find a better solution. Remember, an e-collar is the most advanced tool we have besides our mind when it comes to dog training. The e-collar allows me to communicate with my dog like no other tool at a distance of up to 3/4 of a mile. That communication is critical when it's based and built upon a positive relationship with the person. Agree 100%. When it's not based on that, when it's based on cruelty and just shocking a dog, it's inhumane and cruel. But so is an easy walk harness, a head halty, a regular harness, a leash, a flat collar, or anything else. Let's get away from the situation where we're accusing people of being cruel just because they're doing something different than us. That's really what I'd like to focus on. We may differ in our approach to things, but I think our outcome, our end goal is the same, and that is what's best for the dog.